Hello, everybody, to today's workshop session regarding analyzing like ambassador program in terms of like Voltaire principles. I will be sharing a Miro board, and it's in the Miro board chat. And if you're watching this from YouTube, then you got here through the meeting summary. So you will there have the link to the Miro board and all the relevant links. In here in the top left corner, I added agenda. So basically, we have had some time a bit to come together. And our agenda is to like introduce you to this experiment that we're gonna run. This is described on the left side here. And then we're gonna go into 6 questions and we will bit to like a roundtable discussion of how do we understand these questions. And then I'll also look a bit how did we think about these questions in previous years and see if there is any patterns uh, or new ones or old ones. Then I prepared some Zoom polling in this call. So once we done around over the questions, I will open like Zoom polling and it will happen in 2 segments. And then we basically vote on the options presented for each questions using the Zoom. And basically, this is like the matrix table. We have these questions and then we rate it with 1 to 5, or we are like, we are not able to assess it at all in terms of ambassador program. And then we vote on the most meaningful questions using on Zoom. So every now and then, like every time we have done like what are the most like important questions for us in this quarter, and it has been different every year and for different networks. So would be interesting. Would that change anytime now? And then we have retrospective on the results and the insights that we see from this sentiment gathering. And finally, if we do have time, then retrospective on the questions themselves, like are they good ones to use? How could we like improve for future iterations? And in general, like this, how the facilitation went, and is there something important missing or not missing? So that's the agenda. And just start with this background info for context. I have a link here for one of the quality assurance DAO GitHub, where the first kind of was introduced into my like area of interest, where we were looking at Cardano and the way they like wanted to introduce delegative representatives. But now the page doesn't seem to load. But from there, these discussions, and there was like, how do we govern like innovation fund and what are the responsibilities there and what do we need to look out for? And in that period of time, also Dorgash Bash was leading the innovation fund and helping to. He was the program manager and he helped to, yeah, to guide people to engage with the governance. And then related to SingularityNet, he in 2003 also was participating Decentralized Governance Summit, and there he went a bit more detailed into the way he's like presenting, like when would you, for the say, like bet your farm into this initiative that is um, happening in as we are like doing these innovation funds and try to participate there. And based on these 7 bullet points, I started creating like this sentiment analysis and understand how people feel about like the program they're in. And now it's kind of curated into 6 questions for now, and this is basically the basis of where it came from and where are these questions coming from. And yeah, from now next, we basically are going into as one question at a time, and then I start answering what does these questions mean to you, and how do you intend to measure the sentiment. Any questions so far? concerns, clarifications?
Think not.
And everybody's okay. And I see also this oversight Gitbook page was opened up. So it leads to the slide decks and yeah, more other related documentation. Um, okay, how well are our repetitions organized? So let's start. I'm gonna use the Zoom chat from basically in what order I have people here and basically ask you, Peter, how well do you think, like when you're asked how well are repetitions organized in ambassador program, how do you understand these questions? What do you feel like we are like trying to measure with this kind of sentiment? What pops in your mind?
Well, to me, the first question is what exactly is a repetition in this sense, and I would see that I think as work group meetings, I think, but I'm not quite sure if that's the intention.
I'd say meeting frequency, yeah, but also things like repetitions of the consent process and anything else we do regularly.
Yeah, fair. So any repeating event in that sense.
Uh, do you so even by the event, do you mean the processes? For example, we have quarterly iterations of like budgeting, or you more mean repetitions as how yeah we organize as like in meeting sense? Because I noticed you brought that up mostly.
I think for me, the question is about frequency. So it's all those things, but it's not so much the process itself. It's like, is it often enough? And oh no, actually, no, when I read it again, no, it is the process as well, isn't it? How well is it organized?
All right. Let's move to the next question. How predictable currently is our funding? On my list, Malik Husarfa joined, jumped into my list. So, how do you think, like, when we asked, like, how predictable is currently is funding an ambassador program? What does this question mean to you? And how are you going to intend to measure that kind of question?
Regarding funding, we usually keep the lower rates so that whenever the price hikes or price becomes lower, we adjust them. But in extreme price fluctuations case, we kind of get derailed and budget cuts are needed in the midway. So it kind of very unpredictable situation in the crypto market.
It is affecting all of us. But is there anything else that you feel like we could assess as that gives us like predictability of funding?
We could at the start of quarter, we could use conversions like the whole results could be partially converted in USDs or USDTs in terms of stable coins. Then for that particular quarter, then the funding could be more like predictable.
So I wrote down three basically mechanisms that I think that we have like mechanisms. So in order for you like to make funding predictable, you basically want some kind of tools to adjust budgeting, thinking, and planning, basically project planning. For me, I also feel like is that also part of the like when we do quarterly budget processes? And does that also make it predictable in a sense that every quarter there is a new allocation, or like, how do you feel like this quarterly like budget iterations affect the predictability, if at all?
For quarterly, the market does fluctuate a lot in each quarter. Sometimes it remains stable, so I'm not sure about that. But for that, for one particular quarter, the budget could be predicted for how it would remain if there is some sort of stable coins involved in it.
I just put something in chat. I think part of it is the annual change to our regular allocation from the Supervisory Council wallet. I mean, it is predictable, but it's a consideration. And also the predictability or otherwise of any additional funding that we might get, like what we have for BGI 25 and stuff like that.
Yeah, these external events actually quite heavily affect us, but we may not notice them until like these opportunities come by and get mature. All right, thank you for that. Moving to next question. Do we gather often enough is the question. We are going to ask ourselves when we do sentiment analysis. And now we ask, what does this question mean to you? How do you understand it? Because we are going to measure it. And so how do you intend to measure it and how do you understand it?
Yeah, I think governance represent the most probably significant, repetition on my side that I participate or I engage. That then today, to be more specific, today, so we are closing the year, so this is pretty significant. Almost getting there for Christmas, consent process. We're making decisions and we're moving forward.
So you mentioned how we make decisions is something that you consider like do we gather often enough? So in terms
You were
of
talking about tooling. You don't know. No, I think we are more in the present kind of sense. I'm tired. I just moved the family. I still feel you can duplicate this in an analogy with the ambassadors. We are talking token prices. Have some concerns. We have been moving and trying to adapt. I'm really tired myself, not for that, but for the moving. So I was trying to catch up. I think we have moved ahead and have a pretty good transition this year in a lot of sense. A lot of meetings go more effective. I really love these systems you put together. They really, can make the magic happen, Tivo. And then also really looking forward to see how we can close the year. Yeah, start the next one stronger. So yeah, that's that.
you didn't say it, but it felt like for you, gathering is also like asynchronous. So it's not that we meet and that's a gathering, but it's more that we put our thoughts together in paper or in decision and or sign something, and that's also considering as gathering as a group, even though we're not
Yeah,
at the same place at the same time.
yeah. It's when we set up objectives. So then we put some async on that, and it kind of have been working on building stuff, modular and this. So yeah, but yeah, really challenging the end of the year. I heard you guys were talking about stablecoin and all of that. I really can't follow because my brain is fried. But definitely some terrain to research and observe to see how we can do what we can do. But yeah, then yeah, excited about how we can approach next year evolution of the tooling, because really the dashboard, the framework we have been building is based on these diagrams that you put together, Tivo. So yeah, really looking forward to see how we get those, because all these meetings have been bringing a lot of outputs that we need to turn into outcomes, and we're looking forward to start the year, yeah, on that path. So making our meetings to be more effective and to have, I think we have a pretty standard procedure of following up tasks. Each one have their own, and that's pretty cool. They move ahead and bring outcomes. So, yeah, and then also the opportunity to kind of, I kind of was thinking on something and also sharing ideas. That's what meetings are about, you know. If you can put it more even in a practical way, I came with something to share, like you came with this exercise, Tio. So yeah, let's do it.
Right. Think we covered that quite well, a lot of sticky notes. And if you're not here, then the final person is Vanessa to take that question instead. How well have we organized our reputation building and ambassador program, and how do you?
All right. I mean, for me, that is twofold. Reputation building, it's kind of about how we know about each other's skills, how we know about each other's abilities. It's kind of, I think contribution is another way of looking at reputation, and for me, slightly a better one. But yeah, it's just about how do we know who is contributing and all that stuff. And I think at the moment, for me, the issue of capability is a really big one around, our how we see each other and what we know about each other. But there's like another element of reputation building for me, and it's about the reputation of the ambassador program, either in the wider ecosystem or even beyond that. It's like, what are people seeing of us? What do they know about us? And what do they think of us? And like, how are we all contributing to that?
So capture basically three main points: how we know about each other's skills, how others perceive us as a like entity, and how do we know how who is contributing.
hmm Yeah, that about covers it.
Okay, now
So in a way, well, just if I may, on that
yes, oh yes.
first one, on how we know about each other's skills, in a way, I feel that that kind of connects to like this wider ecosystem reputation systems that are getting built, but it's a bit of a stretch. Current formulation feels like mostly internal. Like I know you can do my robots really well, for just example, but that's different than you having some kind of online reputation score which spells out that you have the skill, let's say.
But I think also it's not just about individuals' reputation in the wider ecosystem. It's also about the reputation of the ambassador program, and like the tools that we're building. Do other parts of the ecosystem know about them? Are they interested in using them? The proposed connection meetings between deep funding and the ambassador program. How do they see us? That kind of thing. So us as a group rather than us as individuals, I think.
Oh, I got that distinction, and I agree that's yeah, should look at both.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess also just with you mentioning kind of individual reputation, is it about how transferable that is and in what ways? Because if systems are being built, then how does what we have in terms of, contribution and whatever embryonic reputation scores we might develop, how does it feed into something wider?
Are you looking for an answer on that, or as a part of this
No,
question?
I'm saying it's part of the question.
Yeah, fair, fair. Agree.
Just say like stuff like there are people in the ambassador program who have had really successful proposals in deep funding, and half of us don't even know that they're doing it. Stuff like that.
Okay. Moving to next question. How clear are our set of principles and roadmaps to sustain growth? Since I haven't shared my perspective, I will try to take this one. Um, well, first thing when I'm expecting to answer this is I'm like, do the ambassador program have their own like landing page? Do they have a knowledge base? And nowadays I even think about, do they have AI agent to help them? And we are a bit getting there. So these are like three like tools that help me to clarify if the program has been thought through, or it has had some kind of mass of information to know what they are doing and where they're going. Mm. Also, it helps to know who initiated the program. In this case, we have like this clear phase two, like, or it may maybe not that clear, but it has this phase two documentation what describes like the intent of decentralizing power. And sometimes there are like programs that just are not really grounded with the source of where it comes from, but hey, here is an allocation fund, this is what we want to intend to. And I also feel like in terms of like continuity or having a clear understanding, even if it's a new thing, total unique, where is that like where's the source of why it exists, I think is important. So yeah, where it came from, what it is, and now how clear are set to like sustain growth. That's a bit probably harder to vision. I, for me, I assume I would want to see some kind of like healthy activities and like plans that are thought ahead into more than a year. And if I can't really tell what is the end result if I come back in 1 year, let's say I'm just a lurker, then it's not, I guess, not that clear what people are doing. And that if you have a plan for beyond a year, it kind of it somewhat means that you're trying to keep it sustained. Like you are not expecting that this will like stop in 2 months, 3 months, if there is at least a year plan. So that's why, yeah, what I would also expect. I don't know if some other also have some thoughts. I will try to stick them here now.
Well, in my mind, it depends a little bit on how you define growth. Like sustaining permanent growth is in itself unsustainable, I feel. But I guess growth can also be the quality of work, or perhaps, in light of reducing budgets, putting focus on specific areas. But I kind of can see that as well. It's not really growth. I don't know. In itself, this question, as it's on screen, it kind of implies we do need sustained growth. And yeah, if on the roadmaps side of things, we don't have a program-wide roadmap. Work groups do have some roadmaps. Not all of them go beyond the current quarter or the upcoming quarter, perhaps. So yeah. The way I'm reading this is like, well, roadmaps. Do we even have roadmaps?
It is actually connected with the whole question of repetitions up at the top in my mind, because like a roadmap might include repetitions, and the whole thing of, like you're saying, Peter, different work groups have maybe a plan, but it's only quarterly and then it gets reassessed. But for me, part of this question is also how flexible are we, or how adaptable are we, given that we are looking at trying to make some kind of a complete restructure. Because sometimes when an organization does that, that's where you realize that it's all a bit full of holes. And it is a bit frightening that, do you know what I mean? It's kind of important to have your structures and your roadmaps, but for them to be able to adapt to big rethinks.
But yeah, welcome Petteri, to a session. Your perfect timing. We are going through the questions that we are soon and to be doing a sentiment analysis on. And we are on the last question. Have we established a good environment to connect and share meaning? And right now we're going around and allowing everybody to take the question and then describe what does that question mean to them and how they intend to measure the sentiment. So, Kateri, this is basically a question for you. Have we established a good environment to connect and share meaning? How do you understand this question and how do you intend to measure it?
Yeah, in my mind, this question is all about providing a space where people feel safe enough to share also critical feedback. Well, at least the first portion, the sharing meaning. Yeah, I'm not even sure what that means. Yeah, no, I think for me the second portion, the sharing meaning, is a bit unclear.
Well, when we have sessions, we want to have meaningful sessions, right? And that usually is like what does it make to have a meaningful session? And so far, I think in our like ambassador practices, we have been doing this meeting notes and meeting summaries and even preparing agendas to save time of like on the alignment or in a sense of what we are focusing on and then also like looking and this meeting summary is always looking outwards that we by principle we expect that not everybody will be in the meeting but they want to be part of these discussions and thought processes and so sharing meaning I guess is like sharing these outputs or like these insights that when we do come together what makes it special that we what we share between each other um and we have how to put it into words like I guess much harder but this is what I feel like when we talk about sharing meaning and creating yeah and then creating these places and sessions where we can do so and the whole another side on what you mentioned providing tools to capture critical because there is like a lot of stuff that like is anonymity and anonymity allow. I think that's like maybe a thing that gives like a good environment to connect uh, because it's like a trustless element there. I don't know how I'm using trustless, but it adds to this like another layer. I don't know how that to describe, but it's basically what's a part of the equation. And Peter is already feeling that we are establishing, we have established a good environment, but we don't connect that well in so Katie, I don't know if you can like give a bit of example or some kind of specific thing that that makes you feel that we are not doing it. Like what is even more expected, like it's like the some calls or work groups are not like are like private. Some work groups don't have uh, like a work group guideline of how do we do things, and it's more like a ad hoc or like just kind of known information by the previous facilitators or yeah, just like yeah, a known thing in people who were there before. Is that like a sentiment, but basically is that a lack of some specific information that makes you feel like that? Yeah, I'm gonna put information in quotes because yeah, don't know what what it will be, but it feels like there may be something that is missing. And if somebody has something that is missing, then we can use that for sentiment. And it would be epic if we could get to specifics, because that, like, getting answer to that why or what could be improved or what we're missing may be what puts us to this like new quarter of we definitely need this kind of process in place, or uh, in order to improve our scoring in sharing meaning in a sense. All right. Also welcome Alfred, you joined us. We are now halfway through our session. Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, I counted it as a 90-minute session, not as a usual 60-minute governance session. So we went through 6 questions. We clarified a bit of how do we understand it at the current point of time. So I'm also gonna now, I need to relog to ambassador account. So last year, when we asked how well our repetition organized, we said we also talk about how many times we repeat and iterate, creating feedback loops and learning from past experiences. So reflections and providing a town hall repetition. And year before that, it was also about processes, repeated experiments, and is there something about process we use to decide if a repeatable task actually applies to a new situation. So we're not trying apply, transfer, repeat something that won't fit. So even thinking about when to stop repeating is part of like repetition. How predictable currently is our funding? There is expectation of transparency of how we do things. Do we analyze and collect data? Do we report to each other? And we have, and then reminding that we have funding iterations. And also a bit of like, are we doing these repetitions in funding in order to kind of assess, are we getting better at it? And then in the first year, we were just thinking in terms of can we predict longevity and is engagement assured and have we kind of allocated right incentives? I think we were quite small worded in the first year because we barely had any contribution. We were just at the brink of making our first tasks on T-work. Now, do we gather often enough? We said online connections, async connections, emotional connections. So async also comes up in both years. So this asynchronous differentiations. And in previous years, we also listed a bit of the tools and what we use for collaboration. And this time we didn't really maybe touch so much on emotional connections, but yeah, a lot about how do we engage with each other. I have a purple sticky note here, which came from last year, and so maybe it repeats again, and that we will try to discover or resolve at the end of the session when we review the way we are doing this exercise and what the questions we use. Then a question, how well we have organized our reputation building. We are achieving our goals and missions. We are sharing our representations externally and internally. Both ambassador program and Alcor simulated. So basically sharing our information and like getting stuff done in a sense, where this time we have a lot more insights into what we expect, how do we expect to measure basically the reputation. And in the first year, we talk a bit about the privacy. In this case, like what is public information, what should be protected, and differentiating the contribution and reputation. And also when we talk about like tasks and bounties. How clear our set of principles and roadmaps, previous year's framework exists that describes strategy, principles, and growth strategy. So expectation of some kind of documentation that explains this question itself. And decentralized as far as professional company taking a stance in the world is super fantastic. So I guess somebody's like any insight on like about the ambassador program that it's decentralized, and we somehow need to incorporate that into the thinking of our sustainable growth and roadmaps. Yeah, I guess in the previous days our question was also slightly different because it was defined growth pact, and we have GPT 0.5 or 4.5 explanation of this growth pact. Yeah, with a lot of text in. I'm just going to read the random section. In some context, a growth pact could also specifically focus on mutual commitments among team members or big departments within a company to support each other's growth and overall progress of organizations. Such pacts might include commitments to innovation, collaboration, and continuous improvement. So we are very similar to what we discussed when we talked about reputation, and now it's talking in terms of that same reputation, how it builds over time. Have we established a good environment to connect and share meaning? And then, yeah, main question, like, are we collaborating? Like, what are we doing? Do we have the spaces to gather? Are we welcoming new people? Yeah, are we recognizing their skills? Can we do something bigger together? And like combine different teams and work groups? Do we have standing invitation to do stuff together? And the environment is great, and then some sentiment. And the first area was more like, are we lively? And also even thinking about, is Discord lively? Okay. The tool we connect is using Discord. So like an obvious thing we missed is the day-to-day activity tool. So I feel like quite aligned. Maybe a bit once the session is over, we can do more analysis on how we differentiated, if at all. So I hope this gives us all now enough kind of context and scope of the discussions that we're gonna now go into. And basically, I'm gonna open up a Zoom poll where you have all of these questions coming and the question, and then basically you scale it based on these numbers. And the numbers mean a rough draft or something is happening. Progress is being made, but we need more refinement. We are in good enough space with this for now. And I also kind of keep this color code hinting that from point 3, it's like it's good now. We are in a good place. Where in 1 and 2, if you signal that this is something that we really need to start focusing on, and 5 is something where you feel like we got it covered, we need to focus, even if, yeah, like that is so hard to improve even further. There is always option for improvement, but this is like, okay, this is perfect. We need to keep that the tune in. And finally, 6 is too confusing. We should slow down or change direction. So that's like a drastic change here to signal that like main priority, I guess. I don't know if it's a priority, but like signaling that nothing is happening in a sense. And once we get like this sentiment analysis, we'll see. I assume I'm gonna just take a picture from the Zoom results, and then we will start thinking why these scores differentiate so much, and if there is somebody who seems very negative or something very positive, I would call you out, and maybe we can share a bit of insights and go into details why people think so. In that way, we kind of find a good path, and then yeah, just kind of clarify each other the state of mind we have regarding ambassador program. Vanessa, I hand over.
Yeah, it was just a bit like this scale was great when we were quite new, but there doesn't seem to be an option. Now that we've existed for a while, the answer could be, well, we used to do this really well, but we've got worse. Would that be six, do you think? Or what would you, if you thought that about something, what would you use?
Yes, I guess this in case that will be 6. And that, yeah. I'm just gonna add here a number that we don't have in Zoom, but just for sake of maybe for future iteration. If none uh, was on one way this kind of comes up is you just score lower than it was last year in your sentiment and just give like a Bayoria 6 is basically the way to signal it because we should change direction and the direction may be back to what it was before. Um, Anybody else has clarifying questions on this? And while that, I will also start the poll. And I made this poll in two sections, in a sense that three questions, we get them in, we make pictures, we look at them, and then we do another one, just to kind of get the scope of what to expect. Realize later maybe I should have done two questions and then four questions, but whatever, it's, it's fine. So everybody on your end should see questions, except if you are a host or a co-host. So yeah, for those who are not able to use survey, I did not think about you. So either
Yes, I could just put it in chat. I do like
yeah,
to answer.
if you want, yeah, I don't know. If you don't want to out anonymity, yeah, but if you're only one doing it, then it's kind of in like a different way. You can do motherboard voting, so I don't know who has access to motherboard. Or yeah, and the third option is you just share the question. I don't know, we can even like number the questions. The first question, second question, third question, fourth question, and you give a number and the number of that thing.
Yeah, fair. Yeah,
But
I'll
then
put
you
that.
out your name, or you can send me a private information if you want to keep it anonymized and you don't cannot use Zoom.
No, that's fine.
I don't know how
I think
many
it's
actually.
important both of us also participate. Just looking at the room, we have 7 people. If 2 out of those 7 are not participating, that's quite an impact. So yeah, I would like to. I'll just put it in some chat. It does make the screenshots a little bit less accurate, but
I'm gonna put it directly on motherboard because eventually we're gonna put it all on motherboard. So maybe Peter, if you're okay, let's both do anonymous poll voting here, and I just turn in the motherboard voting in a sense.
Okay, I can see from the options here, the options are starting from there is something currently going on, like we're actually doing something. What about in a case where I feel like we are not taking any action on it? Like, for example, the first question here, how well have we organized our reputation building? I feel we are not doing anything about reputation here. So, and there is no that option on the pool. So, how do we answer such questions?
In that case, use the option 6, too confusing,
Okay,
and we should change directions or the way we are doing things on that
okay,
front.
okay,
That will signal us that we are not able to answer that question well. And maybe somebody does say that we are doing extremely good, or even if somebody says 1, it means that there is some document, something somewhere has started, and maybe that and the person who doesn't know anything has we can collaborate, or yeah, these options that are presented are not good enough.
Yeah, you made me check last year's Miro, and it had this support density diagram stuff. Not sure if you remember this. Like these heat map kind of
Yes,
on
yes.
on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite cool.
Last year I learned about how easily manipulatable I am, with how other people are deciding. And this forum kind of helps me to bring back to my decision, and then we talk about.
Well, just you and me. I can see you talking, Tefo, but you are muted. So
Yes, I am. For the asynchronous sake, we can then like aggregate the results. But in terms of right now, the way it kind of works is that this is the Zoom questions where I feel like the majority consent is coming from, like, and then we have something that we need to pick up from here, and we'll notice that there are few things that at least me and Peter think they are going extremely good. So maybe we start with these ones, and just kind of dive deeper of, do we gather often enough, and why some people think that we should totally change direction, and why where some of us feel like we are doing pretty good, and there are many of who feel like there is progress, but we still need quite some changes. Uh, in terms of why did I choose, like why is it going extremely good, is in a sense that we have quite a rich calendar. A lot of places are like open. I'm also able to like see the results in summaries in not always like timely manner, but it it's yeah. Oh, I sometimes compare ambassador program with Intersect, which is getting hella paid to do their stuff, and in my opinion, we are doing it more better and transparently. So this is how I kind of also feel like this is going well, that the environments and the way we gather have established in these groups. And I feel like, yes, of course, naturally, some people will kind of go away, or new stuff are being emerged, or different people facilitate these sessions. But that, to me, it also shows like a healthy like a life cycle of uh, these things. And then as we put more of like, how do we do it asynchronously? I feel like this last year where the token price just only kept dropping, and we constantly always went to more asynchronous processes, and like shared off this need for having weekly meetings and consistent like stand-ups and like work meetings in the middle, and more like specific people doing stuff, and then having like review cycles. It's But yeah, maybe it's just from my perspective, but I have seen it adopted by many people and in our work groups, and it kind of works. Like we're doing similar outputs and same impact, just 4 times less budget. And then to me, it's like, okay, something here is definitely working. That's why I went with extremely good. But yeah, I'm interested to hear, Peter, you want to share your perspective where it's.
well,
I'm
no, no,
just
no.
seeing, oh, sorry to interrupt, but I'm just seeing
No,
Guillermo saying he's got to
exactly.
hop off in a couple of minutes. So could we get anything that you want to say first?
That's what I wanted to call out.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. Yeah, thank you, Vani, for that. Yeah, no, I really like the exercise. Sorry just for screwing it up, Tio. Kind of going deaf, even blinder already. But I do see the results here on Zoom. So yeah, pretty cool outcome. yeah, I'm gonna have some lunch and then keep going for the next one. But good to see you guys, and probably on Thursday again, okay, or later on today.
Yeah, I hope so. Let's see
Okay,
what
guys.
happens with the town hall. Because agenda-wise, it's not really anything outside of having the last one of the year, which also might be happening next week. So
Okay,
I don't know. I'll do some soul
okay,
searching in the coming hours on that.
okay. Let us know. Yeah, I'm gonna be. I'm probably before I jump off. So I was putting together a call to action for some exercise with the idea of documenting the governance dashboard. Okay, not only putting together this small short piece, video, telling the story or so. Um, so I was thinking that if we do that, that would be great. Um, so I'm going to be pushing and sharing something with you guys later to provide some. The idea will be call to action to record a video or an audio, but with your avatar, uh, talking and responding whatever questions. Okay. But before that, we can. I'm going to share a document with those questions. Okay. I don't know how many questions we should ask, but not too many. Make it just a game so we can elaborate when we put it together, in an edit piece or like whatever. Um, and then we pick some music and we put a timeline. I'm already working on a timeline, so I think we can put it out before the 20th. Uh, yeah, that will be an easy timeline. But yeah, that will be the thing. So I will share on the document, and then when we are good to go, we can share it on channels, okay? If you agree, of course.
Sounds good to me. Yeah. Curious to see.
Okay,
And yeah,
Vani,
funny.
start choosing your most favorite avatar, okay? But hey, see you guys later on, okay? Cheers.
Yep. Cool.
I'm too happy.
And yeah, Vanessa, on your question in chat, should we share this on in town hall? Yep. In itself, I guess we can. There's a bit of unclarity to me what the sixes mean. So getting, oh, perhaps Guillermo, I do know you need to help. Too late. Okay, was worth a shot. But yeah, if we could get any clarifications on the sixes, that would be good. Because, well, for example, if there's also this seven option on where we used to have something which changed and it was good before, but it changed for the worse. Um, but this wasn't an option in the Zoom poll. So in theory, if you click the six, but you intended to click a seven if it was there, I guess that would be good to know. Um, yeah, I don't know, just trying to puzzle out how to process this, and also noting the time limits a little bit. I don't have to go anywhere for the coming half an hour, but still, yeah, would be good to, I don't know, respect people's time.
Yeah. To me, I would be interested to kind of close in on the six of whoever thinks, do we gather often enough and feels like we need to change totally directions or slow down the way of doing it. Technically, because the six can be also extremely good thing, but just like slow down is like a slightly chill down. Don't add anything more. Let's just keep it steady.
Yeah, so this
Uh,
to me would make a lot of sense if this six was intended as a seven, because
yeah.
some work groups used to have regular, let's say, weekly calls or bi-weekly, and now had to forcefully, kind of due to token price, shift to monthly. So yeah,
I mean, it was me that said that, and I wasn't really thinking necessarily about meeting frequency being reduced necessarily being a bad thing. I think in some cases, if work groups haven't got enough support for asynchronous work, it's not great, but mostly I think it's all right. But for me, it's kind of about, yeah, we have sufficient opportunities to gather, but yeah, it's like it's more about who actually attends, and then when people attend, who participates. And sometimes it feels like with a lot of the meetings that we do have, we're going through the motions a little bit compared to how we used to be. It used to feel much more participatory.
Yeah, that wouldn't be possible to capture in
Not
a
really.
6 second Paul Zoom
I mean,
call.
I suppose what I'm saying is that it is kind of a six in the sense that we should rethink whether some of our meetings are just going through the motions and how we address that.
Yeah, sure. I do think that's I quite agree with that sentiment. Yet I
And
didn't get the thing.
I also just want to draw attention. I mean, Kateri has hopped off now, but she raised a really important point that I felt got swallowed a little bit in the conversation where she said in the chat, I do believe we have established a good environment to connect, but also I don't think we do that, honestly. Well, I'm not sure. Does she mean honestly, I don't think we do that, or does she mean we do it dishonestly? I'm not sure.
I was reading it as the former, but yeah, you can read it
Oh
both ways.
no, right, okay, yeah. But like, I'd like to have heard a bit more about what she's saying about in what ways do we not do it? Because I kind of feel we don't as well. We've got all the frameworks, but yeah.
Another thing I think like would be interesting to tie down or like to loop in is this six that has three people here. How clear are a set of principles and roadmaps to sustain growth? Uh, and compared to those people who say that we have something and we need to refine it and see if this something that has started by these people is something that is acceptable by these who said six.
Yeah, I didn't vote six. I voted two, so I can comment on that, but not on the six.
So when we look at like the things we brought up, does the program have source where it comes from? And to me, I have very clear understanding where ambassador programs comes from, what we are doing in here, how can I experiment here and put my like skills in place. However, yes, the roadmap part is unpredictable, so my score isn't that great. And it's more like, well, it's the entire thing feels like an experiment still, even though it has lasted for years. Um, but yeah, but not in a sense that I would change it or anything. To me, it's just the progress of learning to to understand how decentralized organizations collaborate, and because it's to me it's like a pretty new paradigm. There aren't many places where you can just go and do stuff or take accountability, uh, while also like expecting some kind of recognition. Uh, so like I feel like we have established the place. It's just maybe what directly you will provide to onboarders. And maybe this is like coming from what this are the six is trying to tell us, that the onboarding doesn't work. Like they don't know what they are onboarding to, which we do kind of have
I
heard
mean,
being
Can
raised.
you?
it wasn't once again that six, one of those sixes was me. Oh no. So like, yeah, I just feel like I do have a really, like you, have a really clear idea of like the background to it and like how we've got to where we are. But I just don't think we're living it out very well at the moment. And it feels like we do need a restructure. And, for me, the issue of capability is really a strong one, which I think I would have put in there as well as in the question about reputations. And it just feels like how to put it, we do have the source material, but whilst we are still experimenting, we're not recording those experiments very well, and we're not capturing the learnings from them very well.
So is it just me in this question not thinking about onboarding at all? Or like I did not consider any onboarding. Well, the way you phrased it, Tavo, sounded like this was a pretty important part of this question to you.
Oh no, I just was also guessing of where the six may come from, and I think it was raised several times this year that like it's unclear what are we onboarding people to. Are we doing it for ambassador program, or are we doing it for specific work groups? Are we onboarding people with their skills, or are we bringing people to Singularity Net? And that kind of unclarity is maybe that is giving back course of how clear we are in our roadmap and how do we sustain. But that was just assumption. And
I mean, just what I was thinking about it, it was that because we've been around longer now, there is more background to catch up on, and I'm not sure how effectively we are enabling new people to have a real solid understanding of where we've come from. Because like the more material there is, the more you need to think through what you need, what do people need to know? I mean, a little idea I've got at the moment, I'm trying to work on you know those books that have like the history of the world in 100 objects or whatever. I'm trying to do 20 documents that shape the ambassador program. And it's just like that kind of stuff. Like, all right, there's so much detail, but what does somebody really need to know? And I feel new people coming in, they don't necessarily, they can't possibly absorb all the history. So what do they need?
I like that a lot.
yeah, that was a rich answer. And yeah, this gives already like ooh, where we can solution ourselves, but not getting ahead ourselves, and also considering that it's I think been now over 90 minutes. So I feel like we successfully did the sentiment analysis. We got the results to kind of prioritize of our thought processes. We have clear, like all across the board, all discussions we have. This time, unfortunately, we have a situation that probably we need to tackle every single one of them. And yeah, the downside today is that unfortunately we didn't get to all of these details behind the decision of all of these different ways we see. So yeah, the previous suggestion that maybe this result should be picked up in another meeting and carried over, I support that. I myself, unfortunately, cannot join this open call this week. But I will, yeah, stay in touch. And I think, yeah, we need to put it maybe us synchronously. So everybody who feels now looks at the video itself or the result and basically sharing an opinion, evidence-based opinion of why they think some kind of specific score is there, how would they score it, and why they would score it like that, and kind of resurfacing same kind of tensions that or come with it or celebrations that when it's related to good score of highlighting the good procedures, the documents, the workgroups that you think are making sure that this question can be answered positively. Yeah, with this, I don't know. Any closing thoughts? Somebody wants to share or some kind of clarifying questions of what to do next? Because I think, yeah, now I think we're done thinking and should be handing it to future iterations or asynchronous activity.
Well, it does make me wonder about sharing in town hall, because this async puzzling out of exactly what is meant where and how. Well, that's not gonna happen in the coming 2 hours, right? So that would make it a bit too early to share in town hall.
In terms of town hall, I think yeah, I'm able to join there, and then maybe we can start again there in a sense like, hey, was the results that we had, and yeah, I guess people who are, if there are new people, we just ask, do you agree with it and why you think? Like it would be best if it's still the same people, but then we're just asking too much, maybe. Same people.
Yeah, fair. Um, Yeah, not sure what makes most sense, but getting the keeping the conversation going for sure is important. So in that sense, would be perfectly happy to, you know, it can be just,
Right.
or if the conversation is actually there and then there's, useful input being generated, then we can go longer. That's quite fine by me, I feel.
Yeah, something that we didn't do is like which of the top three questions are most meaningful, and maybe in the town hall what we can do is showing the results and then asking based on the results which questions we should like tackle the most, and then at least we have some kind of like prioritization, like a sentiment, even from people who are like looking outside as this new result, and even those who are there in place. Okay, are you guys and girls leaving? Marek, are we ready to leave, or you have something important that we are missing?
Nope. I was also thinking of jumping off. I guess that's all. Then have a nice day. Nothing from my side.
Alfred, how do you leave?
Sorry, I didn't get
I
that.
asked Alfred if how does he feel and how does he leave the session? Like, did he get information he wanted to share
Oh, okay.
shared? And
Yeah, well, I love the session, and I'm even feeling, looking forward to the impact of this and the structuring this would have to the master program. So, yeah.
thank you. Vanessa, how do you leave the session?
I'm feeling like there's a lot of information in here, and I'm not sure what we do with it next. I think the prioritizing in the town hall would be a good idea.
It does make me wonder on how this then also relates to the interview questions we've been planning on.
Yeah, having said that though, I don't know if anybody is doing them. I don't know. I've done one.
Well, 1 out of 2 is a decent score.
Yeah, okay.
I haven't done it but I have this mental note that there's quite some time still to do it.
Mm.
Well, looks like people have in mind how to get even more information while complaining there is too much information. So I
Yep,
leave it upon them.
that's about it.
With this, I will conclude today's sentiment session and let's see where the journey takes us. Thanks for joining.